So today I want to talk about how success leaves clues. And over the years, I've been following just what we, I guess, would call motivational speakers and inspirational speakers since I was in my late teens. It was just always, I just had an affinity towards people who would just made it their life's purpose to go out there and inspire and encourage others, which I know has been a big impact and influence on my desire to do the same. So I know Tony Robbins has talked about how success leaves clues. Jack Canfield, some of just all the different motivational, inspirational speakers out there that have made such a huge impact. Too many to name, but those are two in particular who I know in specifically talked about just success and how for a lot of us we feel like success eludes us, like we're not part of that select few, if you would say, who are lucky enough to just achieve success. Now remember, success is subjective. Success does not have to mean money for people. Success just means feeling fulfilled in your life, whatever that fulfillment is. If it's in your career, if it's financial success, if it's family success, if it's love success, whatever success is for you, it leaves clues. It leaves clues, and so does failure. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is how to make sure that you are picking up on the clues that will lead you ultimately, hopefully, to success, and make sure you're not picking up on the clues that will lead you to failure. And when I say failure, what I mean by that is just a life of disappointment, because remember I said failure is a prerequisite to success. So as we are moving toward that ladder of success, we're going to have times that we fail, but we have to look at those as learning lessons. But for people who are in a chronic state of failure, and more so it's like stagnation, feeling like they can't get ahead, I want you to just make sure that you aren't following the clues or the footsteps that is going to continue to allow that sense of just dissatisfaction to manifest in your life. So I want to talk about some myths as it regards to what they call successful people. How many of you have ever heard people say, well, if someone achieves something, oh, they're just lucky? How many of you, if you show me by hearts, if you've ever heard that, you can just tap the screen and get your heart showing. I've heard people say that before. She's just lucky. She's just lucky. I can remember, and I see those hearts coming because we've all heard that. I can even remember right after undergrad going into graduate school, and I was fortunate enough to be awarded a scholarship for graduate school. For my master's degree, scholarship for undergrad. And I can remember one of my classmates telling me, you're lucky. And I can honestly tell you guys, I took offense to that because luck had nothing to do with it. Luck had nothing to do with it. But that's a myth. And we're going to talk about why people say that. And another myth is that people who are successful or get ahead in life, they have to be shysters or they have to be cunning or dishonest. But these are all lies we tell ourselves, that people are lucky who are successful or they have to be cunning or manipulative who's successful. These are lies we tell ourselves to help protect our ego. Because if we can believe that this is something that they're just chosen, then we don't feel so bad when we're not successful. The truth is, these are myths. These are myths. People who are successful aren't lucky, okay? People who are successful aren't necessarily, we know some of them are, but aren't necessarily cunning or manipulative or shysters. People who are successful have different patterns of behavior and thoughts. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But just keep that in mind. Those are myths. So people aren't shady. They're not by default cunning. They're not lucky. They don't have the stars in alignment for them. Again, different behavior and patterns of thoughts that we'll talk about. So two of the biggest clues of success people leave behind, and I'm actually going to share three. So we're going to say three of the biggest clues of success people leave behind. Keep this in mind because I want you to ask yourself as I go through this, are you following these clues or are you avoiding these clues? Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself on the side of these things that I talk about that's going to lead you toward success, or do you see yourself on the side that's going to lead toward failure? So one of the biggest clues is that people who are successful, they don't focus on the process. They don't focus on the process. They focus on how good it's going to feel. And we've talked about the importance of feeling and emotion in our motivation. But they focus on how good they're going to feel with the outcome. Now, let me explain that a little bit more. You can't, when people think about how much time it's going to take to do something, how much effort it's going to take, what all they're going to have to go through, they right then and there will just say, you know what, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. If you focus on that process, you will never be successful. I tell this story, and I've told the story in my books before, and I've told the story in my speaking engagements. People always ask me, how did you manage to do it? I had a child, and I'm not kidding, guys, with every single degree. An undergrad, unexpected pregnancy, and entering into my last year of my sophomore year, and had my son in my junior year, and I was back at school 2 weeks later after the Christmas break to resume my semester, and went ahead, graduated on time in that 4-year slot, magna cum laude, then started graduate school. In graduate school, I had my second child. When I got my PhD, I walked across the stage pregnant with my third child. I worked full time during all of this. There was never a time I didn't work full time. I was a mother. I was a wife at the time. I was, doing all those things that I know I needed to do for my family, but all the things that I know I needed to do for me, too, to feel fulfillment. And people say, well, how did you do that? How did you do that? I didn't think about it. Because I tell you guys, even now, some of you make jokes with me when you see me like, girl, I don't know how you do it. I follow you on Facebook and you're always moving. I don't think about it. If I sit and think about everything I have to do, all the energy that I'm going to have to expend to the things that I want to do, that is leading me in the direction I want to go in life, I would be rendered useless because I would exhaust myself just thinking. And we've talked about that before. We've talked about the trouble with thinking. Someone says I would be crazy. Divine Systems in Georgia says that. But you can't think about it. You can't think about it. I tell a joke, and there's a video on my YouTube page where I did something I knew I wasn't supposed to do as a little girl. And my father said, well, why did you do that? And I said, well, I thought. And he stopped me right there and say, see what happens when you think? And so as I got older, I saw the true meaning of that. My dad was a jokester. He was very sarcastic, which is where we all get it from. But I when I go back and I think about that, I think about the fact of, the thinking. If we think about everything, and that's the pooch there, but if we think about everything we have to do and to get to that dream or desire we want, if it's to write a book, I know some of you online are looking to write a book, if it's to finish your degree, if it's to lose weight, whatever it is, when we think about just all the steps, we will just knock ourselves out of the running because it is going to expend energy. But don't think about that. Don't think about the process. Think about the outcome, how good you're going to feel when you are complete with that. So successful people don't think about the process. People who are successful, who find themselves in a constant state of just dissatisfaction in life, are always thinking about the process, the what ifs, the how long it's going to take. They talk about how big the task is, how much they'll have to do, all of that stuff. So stay away. Stop thinking about the process. Focus on the outcome. That's number one. The second biggest clue to success that people have is that they turn their shoulds into musts. How many of you have heard people, you're going to hear some people today, I should do this, I should do that, I should go back to school, I should start a business, I should, whatever it may be. And I say, Lanita, yeah, successful people don't think about the process. Share that on social media as well, because that's something we all should know. But the shoulds, okay, what shoulda, coulda, woulda, what Divine says. Yes, the should of what you should do. I should do this, I should do that. I'm going to tell you, over the years, the moment I hear a person tell me what they should do, I know that they're not fully invested in the process. So I want you guys to think about your own language. How many times are you saying should? Because people who are successful, they don't say should, they say they must. I must. There's a huge difference in that. Think about the things that you say you should do, and think about the things that you say I must do. The must is going to get done. The must is going to get done. So you have to just get away from that should have, could have, would have, or what I should do or what I want to do, and just do it. You guys, that's one of my favorite logos out there, or I should say the terms, is to just do it. Stop with the shoulds. And also, it's very interesting too. Oftentimes, successful people, they don't necessarily tell everyone what they're doing at the time. They don't feel the need. Now, we're all on social media. Obviously, you're on Periscope watching me now. A lot of you are in my Facebook group, In Full Bloom with Dr. Rose. So we're all on social media. So we all see people who indicate oftentimes what they should do or what they're going to do. And then a year later, it still hasn't been done. What we find is that a lot of people will list that. And a lot of people put that up there, what they should do, because in a way, some people feel like speaking it or saying it is just as good as doing it. And it's not true. It's not true. Just verbalizing what you should do is not the same as doing it. Just verbalizing what you should do does not give you brownie points. That's true in relationships. When I see couples and I'll see one of the partners in the couple say, well, I thought about doing this for him and I thought about it, and thinking or saying it is not the same as action. So it's not necessary. A lot of times people put those, what they want to do, what they're going to do because they want validation. You don't need validation for anyone. Successful people do not need validation from anyone. It's a must. It's just in their soul, in the core of their being, what they want to do, what they desire to do, and they know if they don't do it, they won't feel complete. I know if I don't write, if I don't speak, if I don't do these things with you guys, get out there and do workshops and just share some of the knowledge that I've gained over the years to help you live a better life, I know I will feel unfulfilled. So I must do it. Speaking and writing for me is a must. It's not a should, it's a must. And I'll tell you guys, when I found myself in periods of my life not doing this, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel complete. And so when I tell you how just wonderful and humbled I am when you guys join me and you follow me, subscribe to my YouTube page and leave these messages about how it's helping your life, it just makes me feel so fulfilled because it's my must. And you're welcome, Divine. I see you have a big thank you there. So that's the second clue. The last clue successful people leave is they don't attach themselves to a story of why they can't achieve our goals, right? Why they can't achieve our goals. Rachel says, yeah, people need to just do it in silence. God will show the people when it's done. So number 3 again, don't attach yourself to a story. Don't attach yourself to the why you're not able to do it, why you can't lose weight, why you can't write that book, why you can't go and get that degree, why you can't find Mr. Right. There's no, all the men are in prison. How many of you guys have heard that? I've even heard people give excuses of why they can't do just about anything. Anything from I've heard women say, well, I can't exercise because my hair will get mixed up. I pay too much for my hairdo. Or I can't exercise because my boobs are too big. I mean, these are things I actually hear. Don't attach yourself to a why. Don't attach yourself to what if that why may be an illness. Don't attach yourself to why may be your children. I hear a lot of women who say that, well, I can't do this because I have children. That's unfair to your children. Yeah, whys will lead to excuses, as Soul Child Toy 9 says. But, that's unfair. When I taught college for 11 years as an adjunct professor. And I would have students to come in and would not have like an assignment or paper due. And they'll come to me and they'll say, well, I couldn't do it because I have a child at home. And they didn't know my story. They didn't know that I went with my first child and took finals. 4 finals in labor, guys, in labor. Left the college campus and went straight to the hospital and gave birth to that child 23 years ago. So when a person tries to use any type of why as an excuse with me, I'm going to challenge them because I don't believe in the whys. I don't believe in you attaching yourself to a story of why you can't do what you want to do. So if you say I can't do it because of my bank account or because of illness or because of work hours, whatever your story is, you got to challenge that. You got to challenge it because the only one you are pacifying is yourself, and you're really just halting any type of moving success that you could have. So whatever it is, it's time to turn the page of your story. Whatever that story is, time to turn the page, start a new chapter, get rid of the whys, get rid of the coulds, Get rid of all of those things. Get rid of the focusing on the process and those myths that you believe about success. Ask yourself even what your family told you about success. I remember Jack Canfield, the creator, writer of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, who has like $1 billion off of that series. But he talked about how for him growing up, he thought that if you were successful, that meant you did something bad, because that's what his father taught him. His father taught him about successful people being cunning or manipulative, and he didn't want to be seen as that. So he had to challenge. He had to challenge his story. He had to challenge those whys. He had to challenge all of that in order to have the courage to write a book and really get out there and promote it. And the result, the outcome is pretty nice, pretty nice. So guys, I want to challenge you. Think about these 3 clues here. Ask yourself, are these the clues that you're following along, or the clues you're avoiding? Are you on the side of success, or are you on the side of stagnation? Get on the side of success. Challenge these things. Like I said, turn the page, start a new chapter, and you'll be finding yourself living your life in full bloom before you know it. Thanks, guys. Have a great Tuesday. Share these tips on social media. Share the video when I put it up on your social media sites. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Dr. Rose Moulton. And thanks for the happy birthdays. I feel rejuvenated.